This is the study of geography, and these are the branches of geography: physical geography, human geography, and practical geography. These are among the few topics that we'll look at when we study geography. We look at industrialization, we look at forestry, we look at tea plantations, maize plantations, brick making industry, among many others. Press the subscribe button so that you can get our notifications. We're very glad that you found time to join us.
Welcome to Geography Form 2 lesson, and your teacher is Sarah, and we are talking about the earth movements. That is our topic of study. Last time we talked about the causes of the earth movements, where we talked about magma movement, gravitational force, convectional currents, and the isostatic adjustment. Today, we want to ask ourselves, does this really happen? Does the earth really move? Do we have horizontal movement of land? Yes. So, is it really true? We have theories that explain the movement of the earth, and we start by a theory. So what is a theory? A theory is a tentative explanation on the origin of a phenomenon. It is a reasonable fact or idea that explains the origin of a phenomenon. In our case today, it is a tentative explanation. Yes? A reasonable fact that the earth moved, that the continents are constantly moving. So we have the two theories are the continental drift theory, and the plate tectonic theory. Now we are narrowing ourselves down to the continental drift theory. That is our subtopic today. So what is the definition of the continental drift theory? These are English words. Continental is extracted from the word continent. Continent is a large land mass that is surrounded by water. That is the meaning of the word continent. Then, when we talk about continental, so it is something of the continents, something about the large land masses, extensive land masses that are surrounded by water. Drift is also an English word that means to move, slow motion, slow migration. So this is to show us that there is slow movement of extensive lands, very large lands. Probably we may not believe it because we don't even feel it happening. Just like the rotation and the revolution that we saw in Form 1. Do they really happen? We sleep, we wake up, we walk, we do everything. And so nothing is happening. Even the continents are constantly moving, and but their movements are horizontal, and we don't feel it. So that is why people came up. Wegener gave that, he proposed that continents are moving. And therefore, the definition of the term continental drift theory means a slow but sure movement of continents, either towards each other or away from each other, at a good speed of 10 centimeters per year. So you can see 10 centimeters, just maybe the size of my pen. This is the distance that the continent of Africa makes. So in 364 days, it is able to move at this distance. So in one single day, how far does it make its forward movement? So the continents are either moving towards each other or away from each other. The continents include South America, North America, Europe, Asia, Australia, Africa, India, all those ones. So these continents are either moving away from each other or towards each other. Like for example, the South America and the North America and Africa, they are drifting away from each other. You see, initially this land was one, and today it is broken pieces of land. That is very beautiful for us to understand. And so Wegener said that the land was initially one. It was a large landmass. Probably this is in agreement with what we have in the book of Genesis, that God created the earth, and He created the earth, and it was morning and it was evening. Today, the way the land masses are very far away from each other, we may not understand how it was morning and evening everywhere. But even according to geography now, there is this explanation that the land mass was one, and Wegener calls it Pangaea, an extensive land mass. He calls it Pangaea. Then the land mass was surrounded by a very large ocean, very large water body that he called Panthalassa. Panthalassa was the ocean, and the land mass was Pangaea. And then this land mass was the seal. We had talked earlier about the layers of the crust. The seal is the land that is making the continents. And then the ocean was lying on the seama. And that is according to Wegener. And he said the two, the seal and the seama, are floating on the mantle. And now he said that with the time, Pangaea broke into two large land masses. It was extensive, but it broke into two, right in the middle, from the east to the west. And at the center, it was separated by a thin sea that we call Tethys. Tethys was the sea that was separating the land mass. So there was one land mass to the north and another land mass to the south. The land mass to the north was called Eurasia, and the land mass to the south was called Gondwana land. Drifting continued. They continued moving away from each other. The two land masses, they continued moving away from each other. This narrow sea that was separating the two land masses is what we have the modern day, the Mediterranean Sea, which is joining even to the Red Sea. You see that thin and narrow stretch of water. Now, the land masses which were separated to the north, and we said they were called Eurasia, later broke to form the northern continents. The continents include North America, they include Europe, they include Asia. Those are the northern continents. To the south, the Gondwana land now further broke and formed more continents of the south, that is the South America, Africa, Australia, and India, to add to the northern continents now that we have already been able to name. And that is now the first theory, the continental drift theory, that continents are drifting away from each other or towards each other at a speed of 10 centimeters per year. Slow but sure movement of continents towards or away from each other at a speed of 10 centimeters per year. Then we have seen that the land was one. It was called Pangaea, and that is according to Wegener. In around 1911, around that time, that is when he came up with that proposal. And they said that the land was called Pangaea. It then broke into two. To the south, it was called Gondwana land. To the north, it was called Eurasia. And it was separated by a narrow sea that we called the Tethys. The landmass to the north broke to form the North America, Europe, and Asia. The one to the south further broke to form the southern continents, that is South America, Africa, India, and Australia. Then we have various proofs. It is not with nothing. He gave his concrete proofs that these continents were once one land. And the first one that he gave is that there is the jigsaw feet of the margins of the continents. Jigsaw feet of margins of the continents. If you look at Africa, the way it is cut in West Africa, you know, it is cut like an S. And then you look at the eastern coast of South America. If you bring it back and you fit the western coast of West Africa and the eastern coast of South America, if you bring them together, they will perfectly fit into each other. That means that they were cut and they started drifting away from each other. Then we have another evidence that we call the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Right in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, that is the ocean between West Africa and North and South America. That first water body. From the south to the north, there is a submerged mountain, elongated mountain that we call a ridge. This submerged mountain is growing. It is increasing in altitude. That means that there is more material that is being pushed from the ground. As the continents are drifting away from each other, they create more space and more material is added from the mantle to come to the surface, and that is why that mountain is being built, running from the south to the north of the Atlantic Ocean. You see, one time we are going to have another land appearing in the ocean there. Number 3, we have the ancient glacial epochs, that in the past the land was covered by glacier, by solid water. Glacier is solid water, snow. And later the temperatures improved, this global warming, and the solid water melted and it deposited down some materials. The materials that were deposited, we call them moraine. And these materials were deposited on the lands. They were deposited in the southern continent, the southern tip of South America, the southern tip of Southern Africa, and in Australia. So this moraine that is found in these 3 continents is very similar in character. Yes, the materials are similar. The age is the same. That means that these materials must have been deposited to a land that was one at one time. It is only that it has been deposited, separated. It has been separated with time. That is number 3. Number 4, we have another evidence that we call the geological evidence. The evidence that is extracted from rocks. The study of rocks according to age and structure and composition shows clearly that the southern continents were one land mass at one time in the old times. South America, Southern Africa, and Australia. The rocks there are similar in age and structure and composition. How can you guess that it can be possible? It is because those lands were together at one time. So we call that one as an evidence, the geological evidence or geological proof that is found in rocks. We also talk about the occurrence of fossils. Fossils are remains of plants and animals. There are remains of plants and animals in the southern continents. America, South America, yes, Africa and Australia. Those lands again, they have similar fossils, similar plants, similar remains of plants and animals. How could it ever happen that there were similar animals that were existing on those lands? And these lands are very far away from each other, hundreds of thousands of miles away from each other. That one is a proof that long time ago, these lands were together. They were together. And now, they have been drifting away, but those bones and those stems and those roots that are preserved in the ground, it was just, at one time they were in one location. That is a very good proof. Can you think about it? Yes, animals which do not live in water. How could their bones be found in South America or in South Africa and in Australia? It is because these lands were at one time localized, and now they have been broken and been drifted away. The continental drift theory, support that drift theory. Yes, it does not contradict the creation story. It accepts and agrees with it that the land was one. It's only that it has been breaking away. Now, then we also talk about paleomagnetic evidence that in the flow of the oceans, we have ions there, which are aligned either to the north or to the south, and they are moving. You know, they are moving from the middle of the ocean, and they are moving either to the north or to the south. This means that constantly the ocean is cracking, the flow of the ocean is cracking, and more ions are being given out from the center of the earth, and then when they reach to the flow of the ocean, they align themselves. They don't come to an end. The alignment does not come to an end. Every day they are being added, every time they are being added. It's because the flow of the ocean is cracking. We also have another evidence that there is coal in Europe. Coal deposits. You know, coal is charcoal. Yes, it is charcoal that was burned naturally under natural circumstances, conditions, that plants were buried in great depth, and because they are buried with all the energy in them, there is water, there is warmth, minerals are there, there is air. This one, slowly the plant is converted until it becomes black in color, just pure charcoal. Now, the plants which are found in Europe, they do not thrive in temperate lands. Those plants can only grow on tropical lands. So what does that one tell you? It is a proof that this land was once further in the south. Now they have only been pushed to the north because of the earth movements, and that is one of the proofs that the continents have been moving. Europe has been pushed right to the north, away from the tropical land. Now it is in the temperate or high latitude lands. Coal in Germany is a good example. Then finally we could say that the rocks which are found next to the continents are much older than the rocks which are found right in the middle of the oceans. Thanks for having had time with us. That is the end of our lesson.
Continue watching this YouTube channel where you will get more similar content to help you during your study in high school, and kindly share so that your friends can get the same kind of content and be helped in their study as well. Thank you. Have a nice time.